Hi, everyone, and welcome to the You'll Be Okay podcast. I am so excited to have Shannon McNamara on today from Fluently Forward. Fluently Forward is a podcast that dives deep into the world of pop culture, gossip, and celebrity conspiracy theories. The show explores the untold stories and behind the scenes narratives that often slip under the radar of mainstream media. With a mix of humor, speculation, and thoughtful analysis, Shannon covers everything from blind items and celebrity scandals to the sociological impact of fame, Hollywood, and social media. Welcome, Shannon.
Hey, I'm so excited to talk with you.
Oh my gosh, me too. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to be likable and how to be unlikable. And we're going to learn from some celebrities. I just want to preface this by saying we are not aiming to be mean. We're not aiming to bully. I think that being likable is the most important, like one of the most important skills there is. It can help you in friendships, in your career, in your romantic relationships. And we can look at celebrities to better understand how to cultivate that within ourselves, right?
Totally. And also, all of us have likable and unlikable traits within us. I remember one of my first jobs, my boss gave me the advice to read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, which was incredibly humbling. But it's so true. Like, if I had to build myself as a video game character, I would max out my charisma points because likability and charisma, especially in a place that's as superficial as Hollywood, it kind of gets you everywhere, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with our inspiration for this episode, which is Meghan Markle. I feel like she disappeared for a while and now she's back, and everyone's talking about her because of this Netflix show. Have you seen it? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I saw the first three episodes this past weekend, and I think they definitely filmed them in order because to me, the first episode, kind of awkward, not a lot of chemistry. Second one was a little bit better. By the third one, which was all I had time to watch, they were kind of more rocking. And I did find it interesting. I'm like, I would have scrapped the first two and started with number three because that's kind of a theme you see everywhere. Even Conan
Right.
O'Brien, when he first started hosting late night, it took a few months for him to get into the groove of it.
That makes sense.
So it was interesting, but I see all aspects of the show because some parts of it I was like, God, this sucks, and then other parts I was like, oh, well, that's kind of lovely.
So I did not watch, I never listened to her podcast. She has kind of always rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm wondering right now the discourse seems to be some people are praising her and they're like, "Oh, this is so lovely. What a comfort watch." And other people are just despise her. Why is she so polarizing?
I think it's almost like a little bit of chicken and egg. I mean, just as a base level, I think almost all celebrities are narcissistic because
Hmm.
you A, have to be to survive in Hollywood, or B, it
Yep.
gets trained into you by everyone saying, you're a star, you're a star.
Yeah.
So I think all celebrities kind of start baseline narcissistic. Then she's enmeshed in the royal family. Obviously, the press there, incredibly racist. The family themselves. When you're a royal, too, there's this level of scrutiny. And even though the tabloids are bad here in the States, they're really something
Yeah, they're
over
ruthless. Yeah.
over in the UK. And I just feel like there was this level of almost self-awareness but being aware of what you're doing, and it's a hard bridge for celebrities to walk because we want them to be relatable, but then we also know that they're not relatable, and sometimes they miss the mark. And in trying to be relatable, it just makes us angry because it's like, I know that you're lying. Oh sure, you play Wordle every night, you're also a duchess. So how do those two things go together? And it's a weird bridge for them to walk. And I see it myself. Like, I get pissed when Bella Hadid posts a picture of herself eating pizza because I go, I
Yeah.
know you're not actually eating that pizza. And I feel like with Meghan Markle is just a million of those instances all wrapped into one.
I agree. And I'll say where she lost me was in the very beginning when remember when her and Harry just got engaged and they sat down to do that interview and she was like, "Well, I'm from America and so I didn't really know about the royal
I
family."
knew you were,
And I'm
yeah.
like, "Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Don't know about the royal family? Like they basically are our royal family too. Like we don't have a monarchy." What, she lost me there. And then I feel like I saw it like the way that she seduced Harry was probably like treating him like everyone else and he's never been treated like just an average guy and oh you're a prince. I had no idea. I don't even know what that entails. It just came across so fake to me. That is my biggest issue with her. It's not anything else. It really, and I think that people wanted to like her. I think that people's perspective of the royal family is they're so stuffy and uptight and all these old rules. And now we have a woman and she's a woman of color and she's divorced and she's an American actress. Like we're mixed. I think that people were like, wanted to see something new. And she just made it so hard to like her.
I'm with you. I mean, when I learned that she was divorced, I was cheering. I was like, thank God. Like, I even have, a breakup ebook, and one of the things in it is their love story, I think, is so inspirational to people. Like, you can go through a divorce, you can find someone else, that someone else could be a prince, like it happened to her. So I think
Right.
I agree with you. And it's almost, it's like that vibe of when a Victoria's Secret model or Megan Fox is doing an interview and they go, "Oh, I was such a loser in high school. I was so tall and gangly." And you look at the picture and you're like, "Okay, like you were a model back then." So I feel like celebrities try to overcorrect by being relatable, but what we really want is authenticity. And I think if she had said, yeah, I didn't know much about the royal family. Obviously, I knew of him, but I didn't know him until I started getting to know him. And parts of it feel a little bit surreal, but it's just so amazing because he's the love of my life. So parts of it do feel like a storybook and blah, blah, blah. So I'm with you. I remember that quote. I mean, is there a person on earth who doesn't know the British royal family? I feel like
No,
everybody knows them.
everybody knows them. Everybody knows them. So that really bothered me about her. And I think, actually, no, let me ask you, what do you think has been her biggest misstep? Because it seems like she's trying her hand at a lot of things. She tried to be a princess. It seemed like that didn't work. Like they didn't like her, and I think she just couldn't handle it. So they decided to leave, and they were in Canada. And then she tried that podcast, and now she's trying the show. And it's like on the one hand they say leave us alone, but on the other hand, fine, she disappeared, we left you alone, and then like she keeps coming back. So what do you think
Yeah.
is going on here?
I've joked that her next step should be saying that she's going to go to grad school because I feel like that's what everyone does when they're lost. They're like, maybe I'll go to grad school. My sister-in-law had the best idea for Meghan and Harry, and I still think that they should have done this back from the get-go because I also understand their perspective where it's like, if you're a part of the royal family, you're basically a public servant. So it's not being a fun princess. It's a lot of ass ache, bending work and like all these stuffy little rules. I wouldn't want to be a part
I
of
would
it.
never want to. It sounds awful.
Or you know what?
Terrible.
I would have wanted to be a part of it until we found out what it was like via Megan. And then I went, well, forget that.
Yeah.
So I understand not wanting to give up your cushy life. I mean, it's basically wanting to have it all in a selfish way. And I
Right.
understand that. So
Right.
here's what my sister-in-law says they should have done. Meghan and Harry should have worked with Netflix to bring back the rom-com. And what they would do is they would travel all around the world and meet people who have had difficult love stories similar to theirs, where love prevailed despite the age gap or how it was gay or the culture or the Romeo and the Juliet, and they would buy those life rights so that way they would be helping people buy the life rights to their love story, then turn that love story into a rom-com, bringing back the rom-com, which everyone wants, and then that way they would be rubbing elbows with celebrities because they would be casting them in the movies, they would be going to the Emmys and the award shows, but then they could still have that veneer of privacy they want where it's not their face out there and them being criticized and scrutinized. And I think that would have been a great idea, but she decided to do a million things instead. And I can't lie, as a podcaster, I am really upset by the Spotify deal. I think it was $20 million to do 6
Unbelievable.
episodes. The Spotify execs themselves called herself a grifter. And as someone who does podcasting full time and tons of people who do it, to be paid over $1 million per episode where you do just about nothing, to me, it's just like I would have given her a chance until that happened. And for me, there's no excuse. That's one of the easiest jobs you could have had. And because of that, Spotify had to have layoffs. They're now not doing originals for people. So the industry really suffered as a whole. And granted, she didn't steal from them. They offered it to her, but she did not fulfill the end of her contract. And it was an easy contract.
Right. It's almost like she wants the glory without the hard work. Like she wanted to be a princess and with everything when it was great, it's great, but then this is really hard. Like there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of stuff, and I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Podcasting, how hard could that have been for her? Like sit down with one of your famous friends and have a conversation.
Yeah,
And
it's an
she just
interview. It's not a deep dive. You don't have to
exactly.
research. Yeah.
And she could hire people to do the research. She could literally hire people to do every other part of it for her, except for just like the showing up part. I even heard that she wasn't even like she wasn't even, somebody else was asking the questions, and then she was only talking to like the super top tier people. It just seems like she didn't want to put in the work. And
Yeah.
I think
And I
that
think
that
it's, yeah, it's
bothered
confusing
people.
for people too, because even in the show, the cooking show, it was hard for me to tell, is she a master of cooking and she's teaching other people, or is she a fan of cooking and she's learning from other people? Different episodes kind of gave different vibes.
Right.
And I think when we think of celebrities, we get like frustrated when there's multiple different angles and we don't know kind of what box to put them in.
Yeah.
Something I see is like this with Hailey Bieber all the time. Is she a good Christian girl who's helping Justin Bieber, or is she like a evil stalker who hates Selena Gomez and is a total mean girl? And you see sides of both and you don't know where to categorize that person. So your brain almost gets frustrated by it.
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I do. And it's funny that you mentioned that. This morning, I was just not feeling good and didn't want to work. And so I ended up on TikTok on that 7-part series
Yes.
on I don't know. It
Yeah.
had me convinced. Whatever it is that she did, I mean, she was committed and she got her man in the end. I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think that Meghan Markle is evil. I don't think she's a bad person with bad intentions. She just strikes me as someone who's a little bit lost. She's a little bit lost. And I think that she just should have stuck to being an actress, but I guess she couldn't once she became a royal. It seems like that was her path, and that was a good path for her. It seems like she's just lost in who she wants to be. And if she, I liked your idea with like the rom-coms, but the thing is, I think that she wants her face to be seen. That's the thing. Like, I don't think that she wants to just be behind the curtain. I think because she keeps putting herself back out there. So what would you recommend for her to like rehab her image, make herself a little bit more endearing to the public? I mean, there definitely are people that love her, but it seems to be the people that hate her are seem to be the majority. Or maybe I'm just on the wrong side of TikTok for Meghan Markle.
No. Oh my God. No. Are you kidding me? Like her name's one of the most controversial for whatever reason. And if I were her, I would stick to a path. You know, you either, there is a cool way that she could blend it. She's not a duchess, but she's not a normal person, right? And she
Right.
had this cool segment in, I believe, the second episode of the show with Mindy Kaling, where Mindy was like, by the way, walk me through your outfit because I love what you're wearing. And I love Meghan Markle's closet. Like, I think
Oh
she
yeah.
looks incredible, like so put
Same.
together, but not too fussy. And Meghan said, I'm a huge fan of high low. So she said the pants are from Zara, the top is from some designer name I've never heard of, and the sweater is from Jenny Kane. Now I've heard of two out of the three of those brands, and it looked good. And I almost feel like Meghan could position herself as someone where it's like, I've been to the top of the mountain. I've seen what it's like, and here's how to make it relatable for you. Because what people really like is someone that provides them a service. Taylor Swift makes us music. Conan O'Brien makes us laugh. And that's why you get a little bit frustrated with some of these like Hailey Bieber's, because before she had a makeup brand, what did she offer you? Even the Kardashians are offering a little bit of messy drama with their reality show. But I think with Meghan, everything she was offering was kind of like, and see how good this is, and see how good this is. But it's almost like an influencer, I don't know, adjacent thing. If she was saying, here's a great way how to dress, or like Martha Stewart, here's a great meal to cook. She's kind of doing that a little bit with the cooking series, but a lot of the things that she's presenting are not feasible for the average person. Like she made this really beautiful rainbow fruit tray, but to buy fruit, I mean, most rich people don't know this. You go into the grocery store, fruit is freaking expensive, and to have enough for a rainbow, that's not something you could do as a busy mom. So I think if she did high low, one of the things I liked the most in her TV show was when she took peanut butter pretzels from Trader Joe's and then repackaged it into
I saw
something.
these clips on
Yeah.
TikTok. Yeah.
Like people laughed at that, but you know what? I would do that because it looks good. So, I think
Right.
she maybe needs to focus on the content more of here's how the average person can try to do something that's like high key, whether it be outfits or foods, but truly make it relatable. She needs some sort of consultation team of people who have 9 to 5s to tell her like this will hit or this won't.
I agree. I think that you nailed it. Hopefully, Meghan will listen to this episode, or if you know Meghan, send it on over to her. I think that this
Yeah.
could really help her.
I mean, even just her outfits alone, like the fact that she was wearing pants from Zara and she made them look good, it's like I would love more like that. You know, it warms someone up to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, she does look impeccable. I'll give her that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears to Blake Lively now. Blake Lively, our real life Serena van der Woodsen. Okay, her and Ryan, I feel like for a very long time, were very much beloved. Everyone was like, oh, they're couples goals and they're like, you know, snarking back and forth at each other and oh my God, they're so funny and they're so clever and they're so beautiful. Man, have they fallen from grace with all this it ends with us drama. What are your thoughts on these two? And also, like, were they ever likable to begin with?
Dude, I think that they had a partnership with BuzzFeed. They were like blind items back in the day that said that they had a team of copywriters who would put
Oh,
together the captions on their social media posts. That wasn't off the cuff. That was like planned, and they worked really hard to be like 9 moments that they were the funniest ever on Instagram.
yep. Hmm.
And I could see it, and part of me thinks that one of the reasons why they're going after Justin Baldoni for the bot campaign, which I do think happened, is
Right.
because they've probably used bots for themselves before. I think at this point most celebrities have. If you haven't, you're falling
Sure.
behind. So I think that they might have used bots to kind of puff them up as this couple that everyone loves. But it's almost like when Gen Z started to turn on millennials, that was the beginning of their downfall because everything they did was so millennial centric. And now I think it's just interesting how their humor seems a little bit out of touch. And something that's interesting to me with Blake Lively is she was the it girl on Gossip Girl. And I remember I love having a favorite celebrity, and I tried for so hard to make it be Blake Lively. But other than being blonde and pretty and wearing outfits that were sometimes nice but sometimes bizarre, there wasn't really anything to latch onto.
Yeah.
So even the movies that she made, she looked great in all of them, but there wasn't really that much like acting range or depth or anything like that. So I think that their time is coming now, but I also do find it disappointing because I do believe she was sexually harassed on set. I have
Right.
heard not that great things about Justin Baldoni, and I think what's happening right now is going to be sad for a bunch of women to come because I think it's just adding to this list of, well, if you said this one time, then maybe the other things didn't happen to you, and I think it's sad to see that rhetoric.
I agree. And about the sexual harassment, the lawsuit, and everything, I just want to say, in terms of her being unlikable, that started way before the lawsuit, any of that. Like people had already turned on her. I when I posted about this on Instagram, a lot of people were like, "You're a misogynist." All I was talking about was how she's unlikable, and I actually compared it to Dale Carnegie's book, like How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Mm.
and was contrasting like everything he says, and let's look at all the ways she did the opposite, and now people are so mad at her. The sexual harassment aside, because I honestly I can't say I know. I mean, you definitely have more inside sources than me. I don't know what went on. Justin Baldoni seems like a weird guy. He definitely seems like a weirdo. Like, could he have said things, done things, she felt a certain way? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. What I do know with her is that she is so unbelievably unlikable, like just completely outside of this. And you made a good point before. You said that she was just kind of like almost like a blank canvas, like she didn't have much acting range. We didn't really know much about her. I think that she never really said all that much. Now we know so much about her, like reading her text messages and the way that
Yeah.
she talks and how like overbearing she is and the way she took over this movie. I think that we're like, like this is what she's like. So what was I mean, have you like read the whole lot? I mean, I did, I'm crazy, but did you read the whole lawsuit, all the text messages, all the things?
Yeah, well, first of all, that point you made about her being a blank canvas, I think is really interesting because, especially as a celebrity, even as a human for ourselves,
Hmm.
we're all a brand basically. And if you don't tell people what you are, they
Hmm.
will tell you. And it's
Yeah.
interesting how some people have been able to do this. For example, Taylor Swift is, I think, now 35,
Yeah.
but people still think of her as a young woman because she
Hmm.
brands herself as a young woman and has that down your throat. You know,
Yeah.
Selena Gomez has been in so many messy instances, but with the Justin Bieber situation, she branded herself as a victim of hard things. So people
Yeah.
still view her that way. And I think Blake Lively never really told people who she was other than fashion. And I wonder if she had led with more adjectives or personality traits, it would have kind of garnered more history when something like this came up. So I wonder if
Right.
you're going to see people in the future do that. But yeah, her text messages, dude, every single part of this case makes my butthole cringe. Okay, like his voice memo to her was
Oh,
such a hard listen. And then her talking about how she has three dragons. There really is this white woman urge, and I've fallen prey to it myself, to look at Daenerys Targaryen and try to relate to her in some way. And it's just like, oh my God, it's like the most embarrassing thing ever. I'm so thankful my text messages have not been released to the public, because I'm also now looking at them too. I'm like, yeah, they're awful.
they can't be as awful as hers though.
Yeah.
The the way she kind of aggrandizes herself and also paints herself as a victim, and that's the other thing. Like
You know
she's
who does that really well, by the way?
Megan.
No, her best friend Taylor Swift.
We're gonna talk about Taylor too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Taylor's coming. Taylor's on the chopping block. No, I'm kidding. I love Taylor. We won't rip on her too hard. She In those text messages, she really is just like, oh, I'm always overlooked and I have so much to say and da da da. And I feel like she really had this inferiority complex because her husband is so successful and famous. Her best friend is Taylor Swift, like the most successful, famous woman on the planet. And the fact that Blake, and I want to like Blake, I feel a sisterhood with her. I have 4 kids. My kids are pretty much the same ages as her kids. I feel like we are in a unique club of how insane it is to have this amount of children. The fact that after having her 4th baby, she had the stamina to take over that movie the way she did, like, is awe-inspiring to me. Like, thinking about what I was like 4 months postpartum. I'm like,
Maybe she was using his supplements that he recommended or whatever.
Nate, well, give me some. Send me some.
Yeah, it's called Adderall, nature's supplement.
How she had the bandwidth to like take over the entire wardrobe, want to do rewrites on the script, edit, like, girl, aren't you tired? Like that drive to just, I don't know what it is. Is it the narcissism? Is it the now is my chance to show everyone how great I am? I don't know. What do you think is driving that?
The way that it escapes me so much, because this movie wasn't like
It was terrible.
like it, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't gonna be winning any Oscars,
I think
and
she thought it would though, because it was such a phenomenon of a book. Did you read the book?
no,
The
but
book
I
is
mean,
so much better. The book,
yeah.
I mean, that's always the case. But like the movie was so. I'm like, for this, all this fighting for this, we get this watered down, like it just.
Well, and also the pieces that were taken too, the Wear Your Florals, which was
Ugh,
similar to the friendship bracelets at the Eras tour, and merging
yeah.
her movie with the Deadpool one, which was similar to the Barbie Oppenheimer movie of last year. And I think that's something that in general, all of Hollywood is out of touch with. Like they see something work once and they try to replicate it, but what they don't realize is that it worked because it was new and it hadn't been done before, and because the internet and us normals came up with it first and then exploded it into something. So both the friendship bracelets and Barbenheimer, that was something that the internet spread and then the other person took on. So I think Hollywood they try to lead people to the point. They try to lead people to the end of the sentence. They try to make them think a certain way. But I think they really need to be learning from the masses. And the more and more out of touch we get, each year, you see Hollywood make more and more mistakes because they just don't know what it feels like on our end. And I think they were probably surprised by how people wanted to hear what goes on with relationships with domestic violence. What do you do?
Yeah.
What's your first step? And instead they just shied away from that entirely.
Right, right. I think Blake Lively is someone who makes me like grateful that things have been really difficult in my life, because I feel like her life has just been a little too easy. I feel like things, she's a Nepo baby. She probably didn't even have to audition for her first movie. She had connections. She's tall, she's thin, she's blonde, she's beautiful, like she's rich, she's famous. Like she just like her life has just been a little too good. I don't think that I don't even think it's her fault, because I don't think that she can like relate to what it is to struggle or to be in an abusive relationship. I think this is all just goes over her head, and she just lives in this like land, this like la la land. And I think that's why she couldn't even conceive that all the backlash she was getting was organic. And I agree with you for sure. Bots were, I'm sure, were used, but it was also organic. Like it was the hate against her and people making those viral TikTok videos just about how insufferable she was acting. And I don't think that registered to her that, oh, I'm actually unlikable. Like people don't relate to me. I don't think that, I still think that she doesn't believe that was real and that it was all just manipulated. So what do you think about her? Like, I guess I don't want to label her a narcissist. I don't know her. I'm not
Yeah,
diagnosed with
dude.
her. But
Everyone in Hollywood, it would be rare if you aren't at this
oh,
point,
for
you know?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. So what do you think about Blake and how can she rehab her image?
The rehabbing of it, I think, is going to be really, really hard at this point.
Mm,
If I had to bet on horses, I'm betting on Meghan Markle before I'm betting on Blake
same.
Lively right now.
Same. Yeah.
I hope, this is what I think will happen, is that some sort of bombshell, whether it be another witness or something like that, is going to come out and the lawsuit will be won in her favor. I also just think that the fact that the New York Times signed off on it, I mean, they've dealt with Harvey Weinstein before and gone through those checks. So I
Right.
believe that they'll win whatever is to win in that case. But, the reputation and the way that she's been like coming up in award shows as jokes, like I just don't know if that can be walked back. I think her and Ryan Reynolds are so rich that I would just slide back from the spotlight. And you know what? The hard part of this is that she has done a good amount of volunteer work. I mean, they give away millions of dollars to charity every year. And she did this really great speech with the Child Rescue Coalition. And I thought it was really well done. I would just take a few years and go back into doing speaking events and lending your beautiful hair and outfits as a speaker for these different nonprofit things, build up that goodwill, and then get into what she truly wants to do. Because at this point, I really don't know if it's acting. Like, I just don't know if I see that passion there for her.
Right. She seems to be very passionate about like art and creating. And you know what? When you just said this, it clicked for me. I think you're 100% right. It reminds me of when Angelina Jolie, like after her and Brad Pitt had the affair and he left Jen Aniston
Yeah.
and everyone's like, she's a homewrecker, like she's a vixen, blah, blah. And then what did she do? She threw herself into humanitarian work. And it's like, well, we can't hate you now. Like you're visiting all these orphans and you're donating all this money and you're like the UN ambassador. Like she just did so much good. And
Yeah.
that I think that, and she was still acting whatever, but she really just became a humanitarian and made it
Wouldn't
very
it be
hard.
great if people did that instead of hiring these PR crisis firms that really just serve to, demolish the other person with bots? If you spent all of
Right.
that time, energy, and money into doing good, I think it would get you there a hell of a lot quicker and it would be better for everyone.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's guys, celebrities. You got to just do
Yeah.
good.
It's
That
like,
you want
here's
to
an
be
idea, soup
likable.
kitchen, they're like,
Right.
no, vodka line. It's like, oh my
Right.
God.
Like use your brand, use your money to do good things. To do that is another thing. I feel like when the PR for this movie was going so haywire, they should have done a big push to say, okay, we're donating this amount of the proceeds to domestic violence shelters for her hair care line that bombed. She should have been like, okay, like if you're going to promote your hair care line alongside a domestic violence movie, say that you're donating a percentage of the profits to help women in these situations. She didn't do, I feel like those are just obvious things and she just didn't think of any of that. It was just all
Well,
about
and also
herself.
there's people in the past too. Nicole Kidman in Big Little Lies, she portrayed someone who was in a domestically violent relationship and she wrote a think piece about it. She did very thoughtful articles. She donated. So I would just think if you're Blake Lively, the minute you start to get flack for this, look at the past other actresses. Other people have walked this path and either
Yeah.
done a good job or a bad job of it. And even not from like a bottom of your heart, truly just in a narcissistic trying to preserve your reputation way, just steal the page from their playbook if you know that it went well. Why not?
Right, right. And instead, what she's doing is doubling down. And that is something that just makes her very unlikable. Like, at least I get that maybe she's been through some things and who knows what happened on that set. Sounds like it was just a disaster. But own your side of the street. Say, like, I really was wrong in how I marketed this movie. Or I shouldn't have overstepped my bounds. I wasn't the director. And yeah, like, own it. Yeah, I made a mistake with the wardrobe for this movie. Like, whoa, what a clown show. How did she ever think that that was a good idea? But she's not showing any humility. She's not showing any of that. She's just digging in her heels. And I think that that's what people have a problem with. And that's why we're
Yeah.
just like
And you know what? That's a
so over
great
her.
point. Because imagine if she said that, or imagine if, Meghan Markle, right, said, you know what, I have to come clean. I knew who Prince Harry was. I didn't know much about him. I wasn't a royal fanatic, but I did know about him. And she says that as she's cooking on her Netflix show. I would go, hats off. I knew it. And I just think with celebrities, you see that, when Courtney Cox says, you know what, I did get too much filler. They're always greeted by the public for the most part, like 95%. Thanks for letting us in. Like we knew
Yeah.
that, blah, blah, blah. And I think there really is, especially, I've been in a minor verse side of the receiving side of it. when it feels like the entire world hates you for something that you said or did and it was a mistake, the natural inclination really is to just like bury your head in the sand and be like, it didn't happen. I can't say anything about it, like blah, 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 blah. But typically, in my experience, at least on a small scale, when you come out and you're like, that was really stupid. This happened. I wish that this happened instead. It's always the better path. And yet people don't do it. I guess our human nature wins out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it really takes a lot of emotional maturity to do it. Okay, let's talk about Taylor.
Tay Tay.
First, I just want to ask you, it's so funny. My daughter who's 6 is becoming such a Swiftie now, and like the song that she's obsessed with is "You Belong with Me," and I'm a relationship expert, and the whole song is about like she's trying to like win over this guy, and I'm like, Emmy, like to my daughter, I'm like, this isn't how it works. Like if a guy, if he's choosing that girl, like you don't try and fight with him.
Dude, the way, okay, because my niece was listening to that song the other day. She's 4, and I heard the song in a completely new lens.
Right.
She was like, oh, she doesn't get your humor that I do. She's upset about a joke you made. I'm like, the joke was probably sexist and rude, and the girlfriend should be upset. And it's fine if she wears, she's listening to music that, I don't like and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God. But then you see Taylor grow up, and then in the next album, she's like, oh, none of my boyfriends like my pop music. And it's like, see, it all comes back around.
Right. So like my daughter just wants to watch that video over and over, and it's like the pick me anthem, but I'm like,
yes,
okay, I have time to work on her. Okay, first I want to ask you, why do you think Taylor did not come to Blake's defense? And I wonder what it's like being friends with someone like Taylor. Like if I were Blake, I'd be like, Taylor, like get on Instagram and just say, I support my friend and she was sexually harassed and I stand with women. Like why is she so quiet?
Because Taylor never wants to lose any fans. That's why she, made a whole documentary about being political, but she only dips her toe in to say, go vote. And even in her endorsement, she says, vote for who you think you should. Taylor is just, she cares a lot. It's just about herself, I think other people could come second, but Taylor Swift is always going to be number one. I mean, that's how you get to billionaire status. It's a skill. Right. I don't know if it's, a certain language of empathy, but it's interesting because most of the time she can wrap it up in feminism. Mm-hmm. And, you saw other people, you saw Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants folks come out for Blake Lively, other members on the shoot, which by the way is the biggest sign to me that something happened because none of us were on that movie shoot. But the fact that almost every single female co-star on the shoot was like, I stand with Blake. I'm like, okay, Justin definitely did something creepy. Right. All I know is that Taylor, when in doubt, will always support herself first. And I think especially with the case as divisive as this, she didn't want to get involved.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I totally agree with you. Taylor, I think, is a brand first, and then she's a friend and a person and all those other things. And I do love Taylor. I do think that she is a genuinely good person. She is also a massive brand. She is. And you have to put the brand first. And I agree with you. I think that it's just way too controversial. It wasn't controversial to support Kesha. I think that was pretty clear, unanimous. We're like, we support you. So Taylor could donate to her legal funds and great. Okay. Like we cheer for that.
That was like Taylor saying, I'm all for gay rights. And it's like, we already won this battle. You're coming on at the tail end to be like, and here's a single about it. It's like, what would have really been brave was what Madonna was doing, what Lady Gaga was doing, Yeah.
Right. But I agree with you. Taylor Swift just has too big of a fan base, and she doesn't want to alienate any of them. And so, I think that's why she's staying quiet. I just wonder, I wish we could see those conversations between her and Blake of like, sorry, Blake, like you're on your own. You're not coming to the football games with me. Like no Super Bowl for you this year. Like I wonder what goes into that. And I guess maybe like do Taylor's friends just understand like, look, if it's going against Taylor's brand or self-interest to support me, like she's just not going to. Like, is that just accepted? Is it understood? There's so much I want to know.
Me, I would die to be able to have access to their iCloud. But I think it's also, Taylor sings about it in all of her songs. She cares about her reputation and she cares about revenge. And she'll sit on something for 10 years. She's still most recently, in the most recent album, put out a song about the Kim and Kanye situation. Like, she's never going to get over that.
No, she'll never let that go.
So I do believe her and Blake probably did have conversations saying, oh yeah, we could bury anyone, like we're dragons, we're so powerful. I'm sure they hyped each other like that up over a glass of wine. But then it also is that weird conundrum where you could be a really powerful woman in the industry and there's going to still be some faceless, nameless man in a suit who can kind of control aspects of what you do or don't get to do, or like little things like that. So I'm sure it is a weird feeling for them where it's like, I'm massively powerful. I have all of this money and fans and fame and support, but there are still some things that I want to do, but I can't. So it's almost like they think that they're on top of everything, but not only do you have faceless suits who kind of control you, but then there's also the public perception, which directly impacts how much fame you have. So I have no idea, but I bet in private, before all of this came out, they probably did have talks being like, oh yeah, we could take down anyone, you know?
For sure. For sure. I agree with you. I mean, Taylor Swift herself admits that she's calculating, that she's a mastermind, that she's strategic. And Taylor also does, oh gosh, please don't come for me, Swifties. She does play the victim just a bit. Like that is part of her shtick. But yet I think she is also really likable. Would you consider her like just universally likable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fading a little bit as her billionaire status increases.
It's
And
hard to be a likable billionaire. Yeah.
it is. And also, I would say the Grammys last year, definitely had unlikable moments, bringing Lana up on stage,
Oh, yeah, that was
ignoring Celine
cringe.
Dion.
She's cringe. She's cringe. You know,
Yes.
anytime I think that I've done something cringe, like on a TikTok or something, I just think of her and I'm like, she's so cringe and she just owns it so completely with no shame. Like,
But she's just very millennial, and those are the parts I relate to. Like, I also
right.
can't dance well. I also have had conversations with friends where I get ignored and I'm left standing there, like.
Right.
But I think the beauty of Taylor Swift is that, first of all, it's two things. Number one, she provides a service, right? Her albums, she has a work ethic like a goddamn bulldog. She's
Oh, yeah.
always putting out work. She's so talented. She gives people new content and new videos and all of this stuff. So she's really giving a service to people that they enjoy. And then the second part is it's that authenticity. She's not going to be relatable, but she's so authentic. You listen to one of her songs. I mean, I think every single person has like 5 Taylor Swift songs where they're like, this saved my life. And it just feels like you're so known. Her writing is so honest. And it just means that even though I could say, a bunch of things about Taylor Swift that I'm kind of thumbs down on, just the song Marjorie alone makes up for all of it. Like she's just got such a talent.
She does.
Yeah.
She really does. And she did go through a period where she was canceled, where there was like the Taylor Swift is over party trending on Twitter after the whole like Kim and Kanye thing where they recorded her on the phone. But she came back from that. Like she went from being reviled to being so beloved. What do you think the secret was? Like how did she do that? How did she climb out of that?
I think what's really interesting is that, I mean, first of all, everyone we're talking about here as being unlikable is a woman, right? Because the term unlikable only gets put on women. And when you
Right.
think about the Taylor Swift reputation situation, something that I find interesting is how we talk about men and women in this sense, where like Blake Lively, right, will say, oh my God, like I think something happened to her on set. I do think she was sexually harassed and she's so unlikable. Meghan Markle, I do think she was the victim of an incredibly racist family and press and she's unlikable. But then you talk about Kanye West and people go, oh my God, he's a Nazi. He's insane. He's horrible. But damn, was the Graduation album so good. So they almost reverse it when it comes to men.
Right.
Or when it comes to people with huge amounts of talent. So you see that with Ariana Grande right now. Oh my God, I can't believe she's with Ethan Slater and there was cheating going on. But oh my God, she was so good in Wicked and the latest album is incredible. So it's almost like your talent can override your personal, affairs that you get into and such. So maybe that's why it's not happening for Meghan and Blake. But for Taylor, even though people turned against her, she drops these banger albums and you're like, oh my God, man, the talent is incredible. And it kind of overrides what they get up to in their personal life.
Yeah, you're so on point. COVID saved Taylor. Like she dropped Evermore and what was the other one?
Folklore.
Folklore. Yes. That's it. That redeemed her. We were like,
So
all is
good.
forgiven. You are so talented. Like we'll forget bygones, moving on. But what you were saying about how we label women, I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. But that just reminded me, I forgot to mention Ryan Reynolds when we were talking about Blake Lively. He was so likable. Like I feel like people loved him. And now people are looking at him like he's the devil. And just in terms of the blind items, I'm sure you know this, you're the expert. For years and years and years, there have always been blinds about him that he's super controlling, that like he's really not so nice, that he's just like not what he appears to be. So I feel like this downfall was a long time coming for him. What do you think?
Me too. He's also massively wealthy. Like he's been at
Yeah.
billionaire status for a long time because he has all of these like investments in his hands and different jars and stuff like that. And there were bad things about him in the past. I think Alanis Morissette said that her relationship with him was not good. Scarlett Johansson kind of alluded to the same thing. And for me, I think this was before the lawsuit came out, but when, Blake Lively was already being I'm going to be honest too. She was horrible on the red carpet, like I do think some of that was bots, but those interviews were hard to watch. And this was around the time when Martha Stewart had her documentary come out. And do you remember how she tweeted about how Ryan Reynolds isn't that funny?
Yes. I
And
love
he
Martha.
like spiraled out of control and like sent some sort of tweet back that didn't even really make that much sense, but it just
Right.
made people go, oh, what's the least funny thing of all? Not being able to take something on the chin, like taking
Right.
yourself way too seriously. And I think even the Deadpool character, like, we're so hard to please as a general public because we kind of want to be surprised. But him saying, oh, I am the funny guy, people don't like it when a girl calls herself hot and they don't like it when a guy calls himself funny. It's almost like, and we don't like it when Taylor Swift calls herself an activist. Like those are labels that other people call you. But it
Right.
seemed like after a few years of Deadpool, Ryan was like, I am the top funny guy. And it just kind
Yeah.
of makes you want to bring someone down in some sort of sixth sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I think that he's done for. I don't see like I always used to love him. I know like some people always thought he was a little bit cringe. I always thought he was just seemed so jolly and funny and lighthearted. I had the biggest crush on him like when Van Wilder came out, like however long that was. I feel like I was like in high school. But I think he's done. I think that he just seems so ick. Like he's so icky now. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like
we
in
can
the when
cover
he
it.
was in the rom-com era, I thought that all of that was so cute. But I
Yeah.
just feel like I don't know, maybe he got a little bit too big for his britches.
For sure, 100%. It's very, I mean, look, I don't blame them. I can't imagine how hard it would be to stay humble when you are that rich and powerful and just have the world at your feet. Like, I can't imagine it. What I guess people don't realize about celebrities is how much they are not like us. Like you could look in the magazines, like, oh, they go grocery shopping. Like I was a celebrity reporter for a bit. I mean, I was really working in fashion and beauty, but it was for a small company, and they would send me to all like the red carpet events and all the stuff. And just seeing them like out in the wild is crazy. It's everyone coming up to you, everyone catering to you, people just begging like to talk to you. They're just not like us. I can't imagine what it would be like to have that many people sucking up to you, that many people trying to get something from you, that many people relying on you, especially when you're like an empire like Taylor is. How many people rely on her for their livelihood to like feed their families? Like how many people does she employ? I don't think any of us could ever understand. I remember one time being at this club and a guy from like the real world was there. And there was a line all the way around the VIP section of girls just trying to get his attention and trying to talk to him. And this is a guy from the real world. Like, can you imagine what it's like for like a Shawn Mendes or like one of those like A-list celebrity guys? It's
Yeah.
just not anything that we can conceive of.
I think
Which is
and
not.
it does something, I think, to the human psyche, like
Yeah,
we're not prepared for all of that.
right.
And the fact that any celebrity, they will never have a day like ours of
No.
sorting through the refrigerator and going through the bills on the countertop. And then you got to call your health insurance. Like they will never have that day. And a
Right.
celebrity's worst day, like we will never have that day at
Yeah.
all. Like we will never understand each other because it's just a completely different stratosphere, which is why the stands always get me so much because I'm like, man, you are out here doing free work for someone who wouldn't care if you live or die,
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why it is so impressive when celebrities do manage to stay likable. So let's talk about that because we talked about some of the unlikable ones. What actually makes someone likable? Is it authenticity, confidence, good PR? Like what is it? What's the formula?
Think it's a little mix of everything. I think, a big beaming smile never, goes the wrong way, but I really do think at the end of the day it's authenticity. And you can see this in the fact that people still like Wendy Williams, people love her.
Yeah.
Even honestly, I think about it sometimes with Donald Trump or I think about it with Joe Exotic versus Carol Baskin, like
I
even
haven't
if
thought about that
someone's
in so long. Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like, even if
Yeah.
someone's nasty, if they're so honest and forthcoming about, and I'm not saying Donald Trump's honest, I think he's the opposite, but if all of that is out in the open, there's almost like a weird thing where we trust someone more. So even though some people like Amelia Clark, who was on Game of Thrones, has this big, or Khaleesi with her dragons,
Yeah.
she has this big beaming smile in all of these interviews. You can't help but love her. But then at the same point, Kieran Culkin is kind of a little bit of a mess, like all over the place, neurotic with blah, 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 or Larry David, but people love them because it just feels authentic, like who they truly are.
Yeah. Oh, love Larry David. I mean, I love it. I feel like he's like my spirit animal. I just connect. So I feel like some of the most likable celebrities are like Emma Stone, Margot Robbie, and like Keke Palmer. I feel like pretty much they're universally liked. They've never had any like issues, controversies. What is it about them that makes them so effortlessly likable?
I feel like it kind of varies for each. Like Emma Stone does not take herself that seriously. She's so down to earth. She's so willing to do bits and yes and go along with what people say. Whereas Keke Palmer is such a ray of light. She's got this optimism, but this humor and this quick wit to her where you can't help but be entranced every time that she speaks. And then Margot Robbie is beautiful, but she's not going to downplay it in this sense of like a Megan Fox or a Victoria's Secret model, but she cares about her craft. And then she's also really good at putting herself in the spotlight and then taking herself out right before she gets too overexposed.
That is such a good point. I never even realized that about her. And I think some celebrities can't help themselves because they're so addicted to being in the
They love
spotlight.
the rush. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't step away. You're right. That's a really good point about Margot Robbie. Emma Stone is real. I feel like she just seems like she's one of us. Although like they're not one of us. None of them is one of us. There's just something about her that you feel like, yeah, like I could like hang out with this girl and it would just be totally normal. She just seems so unaffected by celebrity.
Yeah. And there are certain things too. I mean, I think she married someone who I think he works in the Hollywood space, but he's not like a big famous face, which I think is different than if you pair your star up with somebody else. Sometimes it goes a little bit crazy and, sends things into a whole new stratosphere. And I also think too, she started doing, Super Bad, Zombieland. She wasn't really doing a lot of these like fluffy, I'm playing the diva. She was kind of almost always typecast as someone who is a little tomboy, rough and tumble. And I wonder if that kind of rubbed off on her too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Then I think there's someone like Jennifer Lawrence who was so likable. I mean, people were obsessed with her after she won the Oscar and she fell down the stairs. There was such a moment of like, she's everyone's best friend, and people turned on her. They turned on her. I mean, it's inevitable. You can't reach that level and then just stay there. I mean, it's gonna turn. What went wrong for her? Like why?
It's hard to say. I mean,
I still love her. I never turned on her. I love her.
I also love her too. There is, this classic cycle where it truly feels like every quarter we pick some sort of new female celebrity to just all violently hate. So maybe it was just her turn. It happened with Anne Hathaway too, which I also think was undeserved. But I wonder if maybe in her mind, she got famous so fast, so quick. But I wonder if it's almost the Bella Hadid of it all, where it's like, after a certain point, if you're being interviewed by people on the red carpet with a spray tan, on your hands to make them look extra perfect, and you're talking about how you want to go home and eat pizza, it's almost that weird vibe of like you're being relatable, but is it authentic? Because you're kind of trying to deny the fact that you just won an Oscar and you're on a red carpet, and that also has to be a part of your truth. So I wonder if it just kind of didn't catch up, because there is just something, and maybe it's envy, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's bitterness. But when you see a celebrity kind of being like, oh, I'm just like you, and it's like, no, you're not. You had 4 different people doing the crease on your eyeshadow and you made more. I remember with Jennifer Lawrence, there were these think pieces that came out when her and Leonardo DiCaprio were in that movie, Just Look Up, the Netflix one about the climate change.
Yeah.
And I think Leo made $250 million from that movie, and Jennifer Lawrence made $200 million. And there were all these think pieces about the wage gap for women. And I was like, shut the fuck up.
I hate when celebrities do that. This is not your issue.
Like,
this
she
is
made
not your issue.
200, she never has to work a day in her, 200 million is like, we will never even be able to fathom that. And you want us to care about this as a woman's issue. So I think it's instances like that where it's like, see, we're just like you. And it's like, yeah, but you're just like me, and it's making me feel bad. It's not making me feel like you're my friend or it's comforting.
Yeah, yeah, but at the same time, the ones who are like, "Oh no, I'm not like you. I'm far above you," like a Gwyneth Paltrow type, right? We're like, "No, we don't like you either because we can't relate to you at all."
Well,
But then if you
sometimes
try to
I
be,
find that people love them. Sometimes I find that the
I
Gwyneth
love Gwyneth.
Paltrow,
I
me
love her.
too, or
I
like
love her.
the Naomi Campbell, even the Melania Trump, like you kind of stick with the skid for long enough and people go, wow, she's so out of touch and she doesn't give a rip. Like I can at least
Right.
respect that. So it's almost this weird, and I think it varies for each person too.
Right. And I think what I like about Gwyneth Paltrow is that she's not pretending to be anything else. Yeah, she's a Nepo baby. She grew up rich and privileged and tall and beautiful and has everything. And she knows it. She's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna buy this like $7,000 face cream because I can afford it. Okay, I
Yeah.
get like that you plebeians can't, but like I can. I'm Gwyneth Paltrow. And she just owns it. Like, good for
Because it's
her.
authentic, which is
Right.
different than Lily Rose Depp saying, oh, people keep saying Nepo baby, but blah, blah, blah. And I do think she's a phenomenal actress, but she
Right.
was also modeling from a young age and she's 5'4". Tell me what other model can, do
Right.
that unless their dad is Johnny Depp. So it's just the authenticity and like, it's almost being a little bit self-aware, I think. Gwyneth
Mhm.
Paltrow, she's at least self-aware enough to know that her life is completely different than ours. So she's not going to try to,
Right.
sell us something different.
I think that's the key also, just self-awareness, which I think so many celebrities are lacking. I also think that Emma Stone has that too. I think that that's the key. I think
Hmm.
that it's a blend of like self-awareness, not taking yourself and what you do so seriously. I think part of what gets gives people the ick about like an Anne Hathaway is like she just takes it all so seriously.
So theater kid, yeah.
So theater kid,
Yeah.
and she was that type. She grew up a town over from me and is like not that much older than me. And like I know people went to school with her. They're like, yeah, she was like the nerdy, annoying theater kid. That's who she is. Okay,
Yeah.
but I think that people don't like that. I think okay, when I think about likable, if we're looking at the men, I think of like a Ryan Gosling, and I maintain that like if he didn't have that personality, he would be so much less hot. Like
Mm.
objectively, his face is not like he's not the classic chiseled, gorgeous, like leading man. And that's why he got cast for The Notebook. Like I think the director said, like it's because like you're not like a hot leading man. His personality and likability just gives him so many points because I think that he is authentic. He doesn't shove himself down anyone's throat. And he's just kind of like such a chiller, you know?
Yeah, something that was so funny was he did this interview recently, I think, where they had him like eat certain types of food for like promo for a movie, and he kept holding up his jacket as he ate the food so nobody could see the food enter his mouth because he didn't want a gif made of it. And I'm like, see, that's the self-awareness though, is knowing now that gifs are made of people and not trying to pretend like, oh, you have no idea, but you're doing certain poses hoping that it'll be turned into an edit, like
Mhm.
it could be awkward, but just putting it out there where it's like, okay, well, I know that this happens, blah, blah, blah. I just think something like that is like really cute.
Yeah, I think that's why I love that about him. And I think that, okay, so I think that we've nailed it down to authenticity, not taking yourself too seriously. I also think that a big part of it is like not being so desperate to be liked. You know what it reminds me of? Like remember when Bradley Cooper did that movie, the Maestro one? Was that what it's called? Maestro? About
Oh, I never saw it, but I heard about it.
I saw it because I had just had my baby, and so this is when I was like up all night nursing. So I was like watching Barbie. I was like up all at all hours watching movies nonstop. And he wanted that Oscar so badly, and people just couldn't stand it.
It's hard, because you want someone to put effort into something, but then you also don't want it to be trying too hard. It's like this really weird dichotomy that we expect of people. But then I always tell myself, well, they got paid $200 million to do a movie. So like it's okay if we're gonna be a little bit hard on them. Like they will live. It's their job to not look at stuff on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's why it's very hard to feel sorry for them with all this stuff. Like they're fine at the end
Just
of the day.
just imagine having $200 million. Just imagine
I
that. I would be
can't.
so happy.
I'm
Like
so happy. Like, what is there to be sad about? Like when you just have that financial cushion, I can't
yeah.
conceive of it. Okay, is it possible for anyone to be universally liked? Is that a thing?
No, I don't think anyone could be. And people have tried, people have come close, but we all have our own triggers. And, sometimes you just don't like someone's voice or the way that they talk or the way that they look reminds you of your ex or something like that. So I don't think anyone, I mean, even Jesus was crucified, like, and you know what? And if he came back, people would make fun of him, like
Right.
there's people are always going to dislike someone for whatever reason. But I think the dangerous thing is when you just don't like someone because of their voice or, some stupid reason. And then in this new world that we go into, then you come up with reasons for why they're evil or problematic or blah, blah, blah. When instead, I like the conversation we're having because it's just like sometimes people are unlikable for XYZ surface thing. Here's how you can change it in your own life. Because
Right.
being likable, I don't think anyone can be universally liked by anyone, but we can all do little things to increase our charisma and the way that we're perceived and have people warm up to us more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that celebrities just provide such ample examples and evidence for what this looks like. So I also wanted to ask you about just, even though I hate this word because this is like if I've gotten any criticism, I get this
Moist.
the most. No, that word is disgusting. But misogyny. I mean, I'm sensitive to this word just because I write about relationships, and so sometimes I'm like, okay, these are the differences between men and women, or like this is why he doesn't want to commit to you, and you're like, you're a misogynist because you said he doesn't want to commit to me because I'm acting too needy, and it's like, no, not every time you're not a misogynist just for offering constructive criticism. But I do think, as much as I despise this word, that there is some hidden misogyny in why certain women are hated. And that it's different from why certain men are hated. Like in terms of unlikable men right now, the names that come to mind are like Justin Timberlake, like what a fall from grace that was. Or like James Franco, Chris Pratt. I feel like everyone's like over him and like annoyed with him. What is the differences between like the men that we hate and the women that we hate? Or find unlikable, rather. I'll say find unlikable.
I think there's a lot of similarities, right? I think a lot of the Venn diagram is the same for both. And what the really sad thing is that a woman will do something where it's like she's too boastful or she's like not humble enough, which is always kind of like an insidious language for like, I want her to feel bad about herself and she doesn't, And for men, it always is, well, they were having sex with their underage fans for 20 years. And it's like, oh my God, like what the fuck is going on? But then there are some people like Chris Pratt where it's just like, we just don't like them. These, Justin Timberlake. I think a man is cringe and a woman does something like men can get away with more things than a woman can. A woman could say, I'm hot. I'm great at this. I have this really good skill. And on a man, it's going to come across as confident. But I don't know. I also think that sometimes there are different advantages. Like I think women could complain more or talk about certain things that men couldn't. It would seem as whiny. So I think that there's pros and cons for each. And the way that I try to go about it is you want to learn how society operates because we're not going to be able to dismantle, misogyny or the way people are perceived, and just learn little tricks from other people to get better at it, and then hope that each generation moves the needle more and more. So that way these things are more even, because it is crazy that Blake Lively could be the villain of the year. Meanwhile, Diddy's still awaiting trial. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's just crazy.
I know. That's a really good point. So, what is your advice to stop trying to be likable and just owning your identity?
I just think you always have to be authentic. This would be my biggest advice to Mark Zuckerberg. Like he's trying now to be like, I'm like a little Cali bro. And it's like, you want to be liked so bad. Same with Elon Musk. Steer into who you are. You are neurodivergent and you are a little bit nerdy and geeky and you're not great with the social skills, but it works because look at Jesse Eisenberg or look at Benedict Cumberbatch. Like there's a way to be esteemed by leaning into who you are. And I think what makes people the most upset is when you try to put on some sort of pretense or fake it, because even if people don't know what you're faking, they can just tell that it's a little bit insincere. So I think that when you're the most honest, it's honestly just a shortcut. It's easier for you. You don't have to lie. You don't have to put on any facade. And it will, at the very least, draw you to the right people. You might not be universally liked. Maybe you're a bitch, but then maybe you're going to enter this Wendy Williams, Naomi Campbell area where people go, I love that she's so honest about who she is.
Yeah, and just owning who they are. Yeah, you're so right. Like being desperate for approval is probably the one thing that makes people dislike you more than anything else. It's just so off-putting when you are just like, like applying the let them theory, which is what everyone's talking about. Okay, some people are going to like me, some people are not. I'm going to show up as my best self. I'm not going to just be like a monster. I'm going to learn when I make missteps and I'm going to own it and I'm going to be growth oriented and continue working on myself. I think that's the winning strategy.
Yeah, as my mom says, every mistake is a learning opportunity. So I'm with you. I think if Blake Lively came out and she went, the fashion was crap, I was awful on the red carpet, I wish I did things X, Y, Z this way, but this did happen to me and I am going to continue to fight for it, I think people would be like, slay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. I love this. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Our podcast is Fluently Forward. We have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and then on Patreon we have episodes every Friday. TikTok, Instagram, anywhere you can find it. We do celebrity gossip, but then also kind of like insights like these. You know, why do people feel this way about a celebrity? What does it all mean? Stuff like that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely have to have you back. This was so fun.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.